Thank you. Welcome everyone to the February 12th special meeting of the Farmington Board of Education. We will go ahead and get started with a roll call. Mr. Walker?
And just for a point of clarification, as roll call is done, we still need to state the location that we are currently in. Is that correct?
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Walker.
No problem. Dr. Blau?
Here in Farmington, Michigan.
Ms. Fox?
Here, Farmington, Michigan. Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Heinrich?
Present, Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Mr. Rich?
Present, Livonia, Michigan.
Ms. Smith?
Here, Farmington Hills.
Okay. I myself am here in Farmington Hills, Michigan, and Ms. Williams?
I am present in Farmington Hills.
All are present and accounted for.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. We will now be led with the Pledge of Allegiance. I will go ahead and lead the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. A couple of quick announcements. The district will be closed again for February break. All of next week, school will reconvene on February 22nd. Today's meeting is for the sole purpose of discussing and deliberating and voting on a superintendent search firm. We will now have a motion to approve the agenda. Mr. Rich.
Thank you. I move that we approve the agenda for today's special meeting, selection of superintendent search firm, February 12th, 2021 at 4 p.m. as presented.
Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Rich. A move to approve the agenda, which was supported by Mr. Walker. Mr. Walker, will you do a roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Dr. Blau?
Yes, here.
Ms. Fox?
Yes.
Ms. Heinrich?
Yes.
Mr. Rich?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
I myself am yes. And Ms. Williams?
I'm a yes.
Unanimous.
Thank you. Moving on, just quickly to share the purpose of the meeting before we move on to public comment. As a reminder to everyone, we are here to deliberate and vote on the superintendent search firm. Again, as a reminder, on January 26th, the board interviewed 6 firms. They were School Exec Connect, MASB, Metro Bureau, Michigan Leadership Institute, McPherson and Jacobson, Haya, and Ray and Associates. The board had an opportunity to ask questions and also to ask follow-up questions, conduct reference checks, in addition to conducting some searches to understand the firm's overall reputation. After initial discussions this past week, on Tuesday, it was evident the board wished to conduct further inquiries and reference checks, and so we moved the vote for today. The board will discuss the search firms and then vote by ballot. Each board member will select its first and second choice firm in that order and send their vote to Mr. Secretary Walker and Mrs. Buckley for the record. The secretary will read aloud each member's vote and tally. Should a firm receive 4 first place votes, they are the chosen pick, having received the majority of the first place votes. Should no firm receive 4 first place votes, then any firm who received at least 1 first place vote and 3 second place votes remains in contention, and the process of discussion and voting will continue until we have a winner. Before we move to deliberations, we will have public comment. I understand we have at least 1 public comment. Does anyone have access to those public comments? Mr. Rich, thank you very much. Mr. Rich, if you wouldn't mind reading our public comment. And before we do that, I'll just confirm with Mrs. Buckley that we have no public comment meant to no persons who wish to provide their public comment allowed. Is that correct? Okay, perfect. Mr. Rich, thank you for volunteering.
Thank you. This is from Megan Aligian. It has been a month since our elementary students have returned to hybrid in-person instruction. Information provided thus far suggests that aside from a few isolated cases across various schools, it seems as though the district, has implemented mitigation standards and practices that minimize spread and limit contraction, allowing our children and staff to safely partake in in-person learning. It is nice to finally see our district slowly progressing forward and utilizing approaches that have been successful for many other essential institutions and personnel for many, many months. Our children have continued to struggle and adjust to this nonsense for almost an entire year. Despite overwhelming feedback from the community, our district and board have continued to circumvent their obligations to our community and neglect our children's academic growth. At this time, our elementary students attend in-person instruction about 2 hours a day, only 4 days a week. That is only equivalent to about one standard day of schooling pre-COVID. Is that okay? Is it acceptable to withhold proper education from our children and continue to deny our community access to full-time in-person instruction? When does the district plan to move forward to 5 full-day in-person instruction, asking for an entire community? And that is all of public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. Public comment is now closed, and we will now move to the deliberation and selection of a superintendent search firm. We will now open the floor to board members to discuss the firms. Are there any board members who have additional information based on the reference checks that they'd like to share? I will share that for mine. All of my reference checks were neutral, and I have no further information to share. Are there any others? Mrs. Fox, I see your hand.
To know that I had the references for Ray and Associate, and I actually spoke with 4 board presidents chartered throughout the state, started actually throughout the U.S. And I did not get not one negative response from them. I won't go through all the bullet points, but very, very excellent references that I got from all 4 of these school districts.
Mr. Rich.
Just in contrast to that, I received a phone call from a board member from Bloomfield Hills schools who said who had negative comments as to their search, saying that it put a lot of work on the district, that they thought that the search firm should have been handling, and that there were plenty of other issues, and that they wouldn't be going back to them in the future should they need another superintendent search. And this was an unsolicited phone call that I received from a board member who thought it was important enough to tell us that.
Thank you, Mr. Rich.
And
Mrs. Smith.
For Mrs. Fox and Mr. Rich, were those both for Ray and Associates? Okay.
Yes.
Just clarify.
Thank you, Dr. Blau. Mrs. Smith?
That was the question I was going to ask. I was just being polite by putting up my hand.
Mr. Walker?
I had a similar references or reference specifically for Ray and Associates, that they went through their entire pool. They had an interim superintendent, much like our situation, but they went through their entire pool of candidates that were presented by Ray and Associates. And the interim superintendent, who from the very start of the process said that that person did not want to be the superintendent, I guess by virtue of the pool and perhaps some negotiation, they wound up hiring their interim superintendent as opposed to any of the choices that were presented to them by virtue of Ray and Associates. In contrast to that, I did have a couple of really good references, neutral good references for MLI, Metro Bureau, but one in particular that stood out in conversation with a superintendent that they had placed. He was not looking to be placed. They came after him as a part of the network that they have of qualified individuals whom they keep in contact with on a regular basis. So I found it very interesting that they were able to take someone who was not looking for a job, and patch them up or match them up with a district that was in need of a superintendent. And based on the level of turnaround that that district has needed to have, this superintendent's been in place since 2017. So he's been in the position now going into his fourth year. It was a very solid match for that particular area. And he went from a higher paying district to a lesser paying district in the process, which offers a lot of positive inference in my mind for at least that particular scenario. That again, that was MLI and Metro Bureau.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any other comments? Mrs. Heinrich and then Mrs. Smith.
I spoke to Wayne Wesson, school board representative, because they hired a new superintendent, and they use the Michigan Leadership Institute, and said that John Silveri, the representative, told the whole story and told the truth. They're very pleased with their superintendent. They said that their top two choices of firms were Michigan Leadership Institute and then the Metro Detroit Bureau. And since their search, those two apparently have combined into one firm. And their superintendent was just hired he was hired actually in the midst of the pandemic, and came into kind of challenging circumstances in their school district.
Thank you, Mrs. Heinrich. Mrs. Smith?
Just before we got on, what took a little minute for me to get on, I also received a call like Mr. Rich did, urging that we do not use Ray and Associates and Michigan School Board Association, but they highly recommended School Exec Connect and Michigan Leadership Institute.
Thank you very much.
I got very negative feedback from both MASB and Ray and Associates.
Thank you. Mr. Rich.
Just two other things, since I was going off of if we were going through the firms. With regards to MLI, I did have two good conversations with both Huron Valley and South Lyon, who also said great things about Mr. Silveri and MLI's process. And as I said back on Tuesday, South Lyon hasn't been able to go through that governance session yet, just due to COVID and having new board members, but they are very much looking forward to that part of the package.
Thank you, Mr. Rich. And hopefully everyone has a good memory from our last meeting. There was a lot of good discussion about references, information that was being provided to us, and internet searches that some of our board members conducted and some of our community members conducted for us as well. So hopefully you have all of that information. Mrs. Blau, Dr. Blau.
I just wanted to share that the additional searching, reading, and conversations that I have had are consistent with what my fellow board members have found with regards to some concerning negatives about Ray and Associates, as well as some real positive feedback about both MLI and School Exec Connect. So.
Mrs. Heinrich.
Yeah, I just want to thank you, Mrs. Weems, and for including the board and delegating these tasks out to do the search, because I really find the information that is coming forth from all of our board members and hearing just a variety of voices and sources really has aided me. I just had some opinions, and I just feel like I gained a lot more information just listening to the comments and the searches. And I feel like if one person had to do it individually, I don't think it would have been as a strong a message or as well informed. I don't think I would have been as well informed as I feel like I am now. So thank you for allowing us an opportunity to do this.
Thank you, Mrs. Heinrich. And thank you to my fellow board members for, pressing in and really wanting to make sure that, we've thoroughly vetted and had some good decision making here. Mrs. Fox, I think you're on mute.
I'm good. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I actually really like School Exec Connect, but I do have a concern. And I don't think that we can answer that concern, and we may need to go back if they're kind of the top of the list. And that is the superintendent, one of the principals of School Exec Connect is also the superintendent of Novi School District. Now, I find that to be a positive thing in one way. But I also am a bit concerned about, is there a conflict of interest? Has he worked that out? I'm sure he has because he does work with others. But I'm just a little concerned about him working as a superintendent and also this position.
Thank you for raising that, Mrs. Fox. I think you raised that before. In response to that, we did send a follow-up question to that firm, and they did respond. I apologize if I did not send it to all the board members, but I thought I had. Maybe you just didn't have a chance to read through it yet.
I may have overlooked it. I have to tell you, with all the stuff we have in there.
Yes, there are a lot of emails, so I can appreciate that. Their response was that they had identified a designated lead for the search, who would also be leading the search for another local school district. Said that this person and the rest of their 60-person team would work with him to ensure that the best candidates are brought forward for our consideration. Typically, they have 4 to 5 searches going at any one time for individual consultants. If they were fortunate to get this one, the only ones we would have going would be yours and Grosse Pointe. We would ask that you review our guarantees and our track record. They say we pride ourselves on great customer service. Please check our references. They will confirm that. We treat each search as its own entity. We would never shop candidates to other districts. Once the candidate profile is set, that is the only tool that we use to ensure the best possible fit for your community. Thank you for raising the question. Dr. Blau.
As I'm looking back over my notes from when we interviewed the firms, the 2 firms that seem to be kind of rising to the top for us seem to be School Exec Connect and MLI Metro Detroit Bureau, both of which I thought highly of during our interview process. One of the things I liked about School Exec Connect is that the one of the people sort of leading the charge is Dr. Steve Matthews, the Novi superintendent, because I feel that he, and you raise a really good point, Mabel. The conflict of interest point is something definitely to consider. On the other hand, his familiarity with our school district might be helpful, and his familiarity with some of the struggles that we've been challenged with recently, that might give him a perspective that could be helpful in choosing some candidates that would be a good fit for us. And then with MLI Metro Detroit Bureau, I was very impressed with their team and with John Silveri. And I like that they do include board visitations to the finalists' work sites and the workshop that is included in the search price for the board and the new superintendent. So those are just some things that, as I'm looking over my notes, really stood out as pluses.
Dr. Blau, I think so far we've heard a lot about all of the firms, and I think there are a few that seem to be creeping to the top in terms of consideration. Do we need any further discussion of those that are at the top? Is there anyone who needs to have any further discussion to, rank their top 1 or 2, or do you guys think that we're ready for a vote? So seeing no further need for discussion, I think we may be able to move to a vote. So I would ask that you send your top choice and your second choice in that order, 1 and 2, to Mr. Walker and also to Mrs. Buckley so that she has a record of your vote.
And then, Mr. Walker, if you can also be sure to email Ms. Buckley as well, just so that she has a record of it, even though you'll be reading off the votes.
For about a half a second, I wondered how she was going to get mine, and then I remembered. So thank you very much.
Seems like we should sing or something.
I was just thinking of like the Jeff song or.
Right. Or we could do row, row, row your boat in a round,
I think all of us trying to do that in unison would come out as a round because of the delay.
Hey,
Good point. Good point.
They did a job.
I have my iPod here. I could share music for a stressful day, or music for a stressful day.
Oh, my goodness.
Let's see. Are all votes in?
I have not seen Terry's.
You have not seen, oh, shoot. You know what?
I know, I was wondering since you were having a conversation, I thought, well, I don't know.
And I haven't seen Dr. Blouse either.
Oh, was I supposed to send them to you also? I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness. All right, let me send them to you as well. My apologies.
They're making songs, Mr. Walker.
They're
composing music. Both of
Oh
them.
my gosh, Angie, now I have 2 demerits from this meeting.
Thank
Oh,
you for,
you're
saying.
fine.
Okay, we should be good
All
now.
right, hang on, Donald, here they come.
Okay.
All right, you should have them now. My apologies.
Yeah, Cheryl, how could you do that?
It's nice that we have the kind of relationship that we're developing, the kind of relationship where we can joke and laugh together. I just love that about us.
When I was teaching, if it was a student's birthday, they'd say, "Can we sing happy birthday?" And I was like, "No, I'll play the birthday song," because my husband is like the biggest Beatles fan that lives. So we would always play the birthday song. So I'm just like looking at, we celebrated Zach's birthday or wished him happy birthday.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to play the Beatles. Do you know the Beatles birthday song?
I don't, but I know I love the Beatles. That I was a big Beatles fan myself. I don't remember the birthday song unless I hear it.
Oh yeah, well I will.
So sing it.
Are you ready, Mr. Walker?
I am ready.
Okay.
We had this playlist going and
Yeah.
I didn't
Sorry to interrupt.
Kim just doesn't want to get us
Sorry to interrupt for board business.
Okay. So just to go and call each person, read each person's vote, both the first and the second one. Is that not correct?
Correct. We should read aloud everyone's vote.
Okay. All righty. Beginning with Dr. Blau. First choice, School Exec Connect. Second choice, MLI, Metro Bureau. Ms. Fox, first choice, School Exec Connect. Second choice, MLI. Ms. Heinrich, first choice, MLI. Second choice, School Exec Connect. Zach Rich, his first choice, MLI. Second choice, School Exec Connect. Angie Smith, first choice, School Exec Connect. Second choice, MLI. Myself, Donald Walker, first choice, MLI. Second choice, School Exec Connect. And Terry Weems, first choice, School Exec Connect. Second choice, MLI. School Exec Connect, 4 votes, MLI, 3.
Thank you for conducting that vote for us. Thank you, board members. It seems as if we were all sort of on the same page there. I think we could not go wrong with either of those choices. Thank you for voting. Mrs. Buckley, would you be able to communicate with our winner?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Seeing nothing further, I believe we are adjourned.
Have a great weekend.
4:31.
Have a good weekend, everybody. Nice work.
Have a good weekend.
You too.
Thank you.
Have a good weekend. Thank you.